So, in the last class, we were discussing about cirrhosis, and I came all the way up to primary biliary cirrhosis. We also discussed what is biliary cirrhosis, including primary and secondary. So, in today, we'll continue with that, where we are discussing what is pigment cirrhosis, specifically in case of hemochromatosis. So, pigment cirrhosis in hemochromatosis. Okay, first of all, what is hemochromatosis? Hemochromatosis is a iron storage disorder in which excessive amount of iron will start getting accumulated into your body, specifically in your liver. Okay, iron starts accumulating in the parenchymal cells, and eventually it will lead to tissue damage as well as functional insufficiency. Now, it can occur in liver, it can affect your pancreas, it can affect your heart as well as your pituitary gland. Most prominent symptoms or most prominent damage will be seen in liver and pancreas. You'll understand the effects in a while. Characteristically, the symptoms that you see with pigment cirrhosis because of hemochromatosis is you'll see micronodular pigment cirrhosis, in the sense small pigmented cirrhosis, small nodules you'll be able to see on the liver. So let's suppose this is your liver. You'll be able to see small nodules that are being formed, and those nodules will have iron pigment in it. Okay, that, diabetes mellitus, and skin pigmentation. Okay, these three are characteristic features of hemochromatosis, or characteristic features of pigment cirrhosis that occurs due to hemochromatosis. Okay, specifically because of the last two, that is skin pigmentation and diabetes mellitus, this disease is also called bronze diabetes. So for example, I'll show you one image. Hold on. See, this is how someone who has bronze diabetes looks. This is because of hemochromatosis. There is excessive amount of iron that is being absorbed into your body, and it is not being excreted out of your body properly. We'll discuss about that in etiology. But ultimately what happens is iron starts getting accumulated in your body, and it will start getting what you call deposited in different parts of your body, including your skin, because of which pigmentation occurs and it becomes darkened. Also, your hand will literally look bronze in color, and the patient will have diabetes. That is why it is called bronze diabetes. All right. So I'll just write the characteristic features. So hemochromatosis, iron storage disorder, pigment cirrhosis, characterized by So these are the characteristic features of pigment cirrhosis. Hemochromatosis can lead to pigment cirrhosis, okay, where it is causing accumulation of iron and leading to pigment cirrhosis. Now coming to causes, see, normally whenever iron is taken in your body either by food or by drugs or whatever it is, generally the total amount of iron that is present in a person's body is around 3 to 4 grams. Okay, and it is maintained in such a way that the amount of losses are equal to the amount that is absorbed, in the sense that your intestine will basically regulate this. Your intestinal mucosa will be responsible for absorption of iron, so it will absorb only that much amount which is being lost, in the sense that normally in a healthy man, around 1 milligram per day of iron will be lost, and the exact same amount will be replenished back, or it will be absorbed back, so that you have a balance of 3 to 4 grams totally in your body. Okay, so the absorption rate is 1 mg per day. Okay, this is in a healthy man, and if you have a pregnant lady or menstruating lady specifically, it will be 1.5 mg per day. Okay, be careful, this is mg and this is gram. total amount of iron that is present in your body is 3 to 4 grams, whereas the amount that is absorbed back into your body in a healthy individual varies between 1 mg per day to 1.5 mg per day, 1.5 being in a menstruating woman. Okay, and exactly the same amount will be what you call excreted, so that only this much amount of iron is present in your body constantly, not more than that. In hemochromatosis though, what happens is this amount will go way up. So this amount goes up to 4 mg per day. So the patient will start absorbing way more than they can excrete. So normally in your body there is 1 mg per day iron, 1 mg of iron being lost every day, because of which your intestinal mucosa is exactly absorbing the same amount, meaning your intestinal mucosa is absorbing 1 mg. The problem in hemochromatosis is that it is not it's a storage disorder where it will start absorbing more, or your body will start storing more amount of iron. Specifically, instead of reabsorbing this 1 mg back, it will absorb 4 mg back, 4 times more. Okay, this excessive iron is apparent through your elevated serum levels. Okay, this is a genetic disorder. It is an autosomal recessive disorder generally, but it can occur due to acquired causes as well. So mostly the acquired causes will either be it is ineffective erythropoiesis. Okay, erythropoiesis not occurring properly, RBC formation, or you have defective hemoglobin synthesis, or it can be if a patient has multiple blood transfusions, if they are being given, especially in patients like let's suppose dengue. Okay, if they are, or in any other condition, if they are being given multiple blood transfusion, or they have enhanced absorption of iron because of alcohol consumption. So generally someone who drinks a lot of alcohol, their absorption of iron is spiked. They have significantly high amount of iron absorption. In all of these cases, what will happen is either it is an autosomal recessive disorder, or it is an acquired disorder where all of these are not working, or they are ineffective. Iron will start getting accumulated in your body, and ultimately the pathological changes that you will see are that first of all your liver will get affected. Okay, the most frequently affected organs will be your liver as well as your pancreas. So to a lesser extent it will affect your heart, endocrine glands. It might even affect your skin, pigmentation and all. Sometimes it will affect the synovial cavities, synovium, and testes. Okay, but rarer. As I'm going vertical more and more into the number of organs, the lesser there is a chance of them being affected. So most probably liver will be affected, then pancreas, then heart and endocrine and so on. Okay, specifically in liver, what happens is excessive amount of pigment starts getting accumulated in your hepatocytes, and uh, these deposits, especially in the initial stages, they will hover around your periportal liver cells. So let's suppose this is your portal triad, or this is your portal vein. You have hepatocytes arranged around this. Okay, so imagine these are hepatocytes that are arranged around your portal cavity, or around your portal vein. Sorry. So the pigmentation will start around here. So you will start seeing pigments of iron being accumulated in periportal region. So the region around your portal system, that is where the first effect will be seen. Okay, ultimately what will happen is along with this fibrosis will increase. So in portal zone, you will have fibrosis occurring, and ultimately these hepatocytes undergo fibrosis and they undergo damage. Eventually what will happen is this will lead to micronodular cirrhosis. So small nodules will be formed. Micronodular cirrhosis. Okay. Whenever there is micronodular cirrhosis, see how it is developing is अब एक बार pigment अंदर आया, let's suppose pigment is getting accumulated in the hepatocytes inside. ठीक है, it starts causing some damage. Then fibrosis occurs. Fibrin starts getting accumulated. Fibrosis occur. This cycle of damaging and reproducing again and again will cause the formation of nodules. These nodules are very small, but ultimately what happens to overall liver is that it will stop functioning properly. That is where cirrhosis kicks in. That is why it is called micronodular cirrhosis. Okay, I'll repeat once again. Those pigments are getting accumulated in your hepatocyte, specifically in your near your portal region. That is why periportal accumulation bolte hai usko. And along with this, fibrosis occurs. Now this constant cycle of damage and repair will start causing formation of nodules, and there'll be very, very small nodules. Ultimately, what will happen is the overall capacity of your liver will significantly decrease, wherein you will see cirrhosis in the patient, okay, of that liver. Now, because of these deposits, your liver will become chocolatey brown, okay, and you will have a nodular surface. The surface of your liver, if you remember, initially in the initial classes, I think 2 or 3 classes back, I showed you how a cirrhotic liver looks. There'll be several lesions appearing all over the liver, right? The same way this liver will look. Okay, other than this, now this is about liver. What will happen in liver? In pancreas, though, pigmentation is less. It's not as intense as it is in liver. But what happens is your acinar cells and your islet cells, they will get specifically affected, in the sense that the deposits of iron, whatever they are occurring, even if they are lesser than liver, these deposits will produce fibrosis. Specifically, they will produce interstitial fibrosis, and they will cause atrophy of your islet cells. Now, if there is atrophy of your islet cells, it specifically it will target your beta cell. Okay, that is why insulin production gets affected severely, wherein the patient is having diabetes mellitus. Okay, I'll repeat once again. Pancreas may, in your pancreas, the pigmentation is not as intense as it is in what you call in liver. Even though it does occur, it is not as intense. But what happens is, even if there is less amount of deposit, diffuse interstitial fibrosis occurs. So fibrosis is pretty intense in this. As fibrosis what do you call kicks in, along with that, atrophy will occur. Eventually atrophy of cells will occur, and these are particularly affecting your acinar cells and your islet cells. And once these are affected, the patient invariably develops diabetes mellitus. That is why this disease is characterized by bronze diabetes, or it is called bronze diabetes, because the patient develops diabetes mellitus and they will have pigmentation because of iron getting accumulated. Okay, so this is about hemochromatosis. I hope you understood this. If you have doubts, please let me know. Okay, you can put in the chat as well if you want me to summarize the whole thing or something like that. All right. So coming to Wilson's disease. So Wilson's disease is another cause of cirrhosis. So as we are discussing cirrhosis, it can occur through several reasons. Now, cirrhosis in Wilson's disease. Now, the way now in your what do you call pigment cirrhosis, which is occurring because of hemochromatosis, we primarily saw that iron is getting accumulated, right? In Wilson's disease, copper gets accumulated. There is a problem there is an inherited problem, autosomal recessive inherited disease here. And what will happen is copper metabolism is improper, because of which there is accumulation of copper to an extent that it will become toxic. Okay, copper starts getting accumulated in cells of your liver, chiefly in the cells of your liver. It will start accumulating in the brain and in the eye. Okay, these three regions are particularly affected, and especially whenever it is copper is accumulating inside your liver, it can strongly cause, or there is a strong correlation of this causing cirrhosis in the patient. Now, etiologically, or when we talk about the cause, dietary copper as such, so I'll just write here Wilson's disease. This is because of improper um, copper metabolism, okay, leading to accumulation in liver, brain and eye. Okay, these three are the specific ones affected. When we talk about the effect of accumulation in liver, this fellow will cause cirrhosis. Okay, now coming to what you call causes. Why is it causes? As I told you, it is the autosomal recessive disorder. Now, excessive amount of copper that is being absorbed through your stomach or intestine. Normally, what happens is whatever you eat, dietary copper that you take in, that is more than enough for body's requirement. Okay, you do not need to supplement yourself with copper. Normally whatever food person eats, that has enough amount of copper in it, so that supplementation is not required, unlike sometimes iron requires supplementation and things like that, iron, vitamin D, and so on. Now copper is not so. Whatever amount of food that you eat has enough amount of copper. Now at one point what will happen is excessive copper, especially in people who have Wilson's disease, excessive copper will start getting absorbed through your stomach and duodenum. And this stomach and duodenum, what they do is this whatever excessive copper is there, that is transported to your liver, and in your liver they will get incorporated into globulins. Now if you remember, globulin is a protein that is produced by your liver, albumin and globulin jasa, and globulin has three types: alpha, beta, gamma, right? Alpha itself will have several subtypes. There is a specific type of globulin called alpha 2 globulin. Okay, so what happens is whatever copper you are eating, suppose someone ate some food that contained copper, okay, and that copper is getting what do you call sent to your body, it is getting digested, and all of that is happening from your stomach and duodenum. It is getting absorbed. Okay, so let's suppose I'm writing D. From duodenum it is getting absorbed, and from your duodenum it is getting sent to your liver. In your liver what will happen is this copper will get transported, or it will get attached to something called alpha 2 globulin. Okay, once this copper gets attached to alpha 2 globulin, or it gets incorporated into alpha 2 globulin, so you have alpha 2 globulin and copper, okay, making a pair. This particular protein now will be called ceruloplasmin. One second. Okay. I'll repeat once again just in case you did not understand. Whatever copper you are eating, that gets what you call digested. Obviously whatever you are eating gets digested in your mouth, then goes to your throughout your GIT, it is going into your stomach and eventually going into your duodenum, finally into your intestine. Specifically in your stomach and your duodenum, copper is absorbed. That copper, whichever is absorbed, will be transported to your liver. In your liver there is a protein that is being formed, a type of globulin called alpha 2 globulin. This alpha 2 globulin will get incorporated with the copper that is being sent by your duodenum. Okay, duodenum is sending copper to your liver, and that copper is being attached to this protein. The purpose of attaching this copper to this protein is so that it can be excreted out. Okay, whatever excess amount is there, that will be excreted out through alpha 2 globulin. Whatever amount is required for your bodily function will be stored inside. This pairing of alpha 2 globulin and copper, this particular protein complex, is called ceruloplasmin. Ceruloplasmin will be excreted by your liver through bile. Okay, so this gets excreted out via bile. Right, this is how normally it occurs. In Wilson's disease, copper gets accumulated into your liver rather than being excreted. So this step will not occur properly. Okay, liver will not excrete it properly, or either this step will not occur properly, or this step will occur not occur properly. In either case, liver is not excreting that copper out, meaning what will happen, copper will start getting accumulated into your liver. Ultimately, because of these because of accumulation of copper, your liver will show certain changes. Those changes will be steatosis, fatty changes will occur. The patient can have acute or chronic hepatitis, okay, or the patient can have submassive liver necrosis. Submassive liver necrosis, something we studied in fulminant hepatitis. Submassive liver necrosis, okay, and it can cause macronodular cirrhosis. Big nodules will be seen on your liver, and it will cause cirrhosis. Okay, normally this copper that is being stored into your liver will be deposited in periportal hepatocytes. The same way it is done in hemochromatosis, this hepatocytes that are present around your portal triad, unke andar copper gets accumulated, and they will form reddish granules in your cytoplasm. The accumulation of copper will form reddish granules in your cytoplasm, which you'll be able to observe if you perform a microscopic test, okay, biopsy type. So this is Wilson's disease. I'm not going into a lot of detail what is happening because you don't have that much detail. Uh, but this is enough for now. Okay. समझ में आया what is happening? This is a problem in excretion of copper, causing accumulation of copper inside your body, leading to one effect is cirrhosis. In your eye, it'll have different effect. It'll in your brain, it'll have different effect. But for now, you don't need to concern yourself with that because it is a part of cirrhosis that we are discussing it. If you have doubts, please let me know. Naito, we'll move on to the other type of cirrhosis. Okay, so you can put it in the chat as well if you are not able to. I can easily get it back like this. Yeah. Now, coming to the next type of cirrhosis, we have cirrhosis in alpha 1 antitrypsin deficiency. We studied about alpha 1 antitrypsin deficiency somewhere, no? एक lung disease थी जिसमें there was alpha 1 one theory was that alpha 1 antitrypsin will be low because of which that lung disease occurred. We studied it in pathology a couple of weeks back. Find out and tell me tomorrow. Okay. If you remember it, tell it now, or else you can tell me tomorrow as well. अपन 4-5 ही डिस्कस करे थे COPD, emphysema, asthma and something else, lung abscess, I think, not a lot. So what happens in this? Now alpha 1 antitrypsin is an important protein that is secreted by your liver, which in turn is responsible for your normal functioning of your lung as well. Okay, it plays a dual role, but actually there are other roles as well, but these are the two roles that you know. Now alpha 1 antitrypsin deficiency is an autosomal codominant condition. Okay, uh, basically it is genetic disorder wherein the patient, what will happen is this will start having hepatic changes at a very early age. So the patient will start having okay, specifically the changes will be if it is occurring in the neonate, it can cause neonatal hepatitis, or if it is occurring in sometimes what will happen is even if it is not showing in at a neonatal level, it will take hold of the patient's body by the time they are in childhood, or by the time they are in adolescence. So generally before adolescence or sometime around their teens, they will definitely have a problem in their liver if they are having cirrhosis due to alpha 1 antitrypsin deficiency, meaning that the patient already has alpha 1 antitrypsin deficiency. The time it takes for the patient to develop cirrhosis can be variable. Okay, depending on the amount of deficiency, depending on the severity, there are several factors. But thodo mein, this deficiency will be apparent at the neonatal stage itself. Sometimes it will take a little more time and it will appear either in childhood or in adolescence. So specifically, it can also cause micronodular or macronodular cirrhosis. This is in children or in adolescence. Okay, adolescence. So this is about alpha 1 antitrypsin. You don't have a lot about it. The rest of the types are very small type. They don't have a lot of description in them. Then we have something called cardiac cirrhosis. Cardiac cirrhosis is uncommon. It is a complication of right-sided congestion. Okay, right-sided congestive heart failure, especially severe right-sided congestive heart failure, can lead to cirrhosis if there is a liver involvement. What will happen is liver will get enlarged. It will become very firm, and your Glisson's capsule that is present around your what do you call liver will become very tight. Because it is getting enlarged, the membrane that is present around your liver will get stretched. Okay. Microscopically, if you look into the liver, as particular heart failure prolongs, meaning if there is severe and prolonged heart failure, it will cause fibrous strands. Okay, these fibrous strands will go to the central vein of your liver and they will start causing fibrotic damage. Okay, these fibrous strands may form interconnections and they may lead to cirrhosis. Okay, so you have damage in your cardiac cell, or in your heart. So basically the patient has severe right-sided CHF. Okay, we've already discussed what is CHF briefly, so I'm not going to go over what is CHF. Now the patient is starting off with a right-sided heart failure. Okay, congestive heart failure. This congestive heart failure is leading to fibrosis. Okay, this fibrosis, the fibrin strands that are formed from fibrosis enter your systemic circulation, and at one point of time they'll come across your liver. In your liver they'll start causing fibrotic damage. Okay, they'll start getting accumulated in the liver specifically, and they will start causing fibrotic damage. Eventually this fibrosis is something that occurs hand in hand with scarring. Okay, irreparable damage. This will lead to cirrhosis. That is why it is called cardiac cirrhosis, starting off with a cardiac condition leading to cirrhosis. All right. Ultimately, your liver will get very enlarged, and your capsule will get stretched. The patient will present with hepatomegaly, slight right upper quadrant pain, and they will have cardiac problems. So congestive heart failure के symptoms दिखाने लग They'll have angina, hypertension, things like that. Okay, you will have a pulmonary hypertension. They might have what you call pulmonary effusions, things like that. Those are the symptoms of your congestive heart failure. You already know what is congestive heart failure. Uske saath, when you see liver what you call problems, you can guess that it is cardiac cirrhosis. Now, the last type is Indian childhood cirrhosis. Indian childhood cirrhosis is an unusual form of cirrhosis, generally seen in children with who are around 6 months to 3 years in age. Okay, so very young children. There is no role in viral infection, so there is no chance that a viral infection can cause this, but it is commonly due to toxic effects due to some toxin, or it can be due to inherited abnormality of copper metabolism. So either there is toxicity of copper where they are ingesting a lot of copper, either directly, indirectly, whatever way, or there is a metabolic disorder of copper, like Wilson's disease, but this is not Wilson's disease. Okay, they will not have effects in their brain and eye. यहाँ पर you will specifically see damage to your liver. ठीक है? And it can be a combination as well, wherein it is occurring because the patient has excessive amount of consumption of copper along with inherited disorder. So it can be either or and both. Okay, the pathological changes that you will see in this is that the liver will have something called ballooning degeneration. So hepatocytes show ballooning degeneration. Ballooning degeneration is something wherein, let's suppose this is your hepatocyte. Okay, at one point of time in cirrhosis or hepatitis, sometimes it will occur in hepatitis as well, because of inflammatory damage, what will happen is a lot of monocytes, not monocytes, a lot of eosinophils and a lot of inflammatory cells will start accumulating inside your hepatocytes. I'll repeat again. Whenever there is an inflammatory damage, it can be in hepatitis, it can be cirrhosis, it can be any type of damage that is occurring to liver, wherein there is severe amount of inflammation. What will happen is inflammatory cells will invariably start invading into your hepatocyte, and once they start invading into the hepatocyte, your hepatocyte will lose its shape. Okay? It will enlarge. Okay? That is called ballooning degeneration. It will literally balloon out and there will be degeneration. Your nucleus will move out to the side, there will be damage to your cytoplasm and your cell organelles, and eventually the hepatocyte will die. But that is ballooning degeneration. There is another L here. Okay, BALL, ballooning. Okay, other than that, you will see Mallory bodies. So prominent Mallory bodies, okay, in hepatocytes. These Mallory bodies will occur without the presence of fatty changes. Now, what is Mallory bodies? Mallory bodies are special type of protein bodies that are generally seen in extensive liver damage. So they also appear in hepatitis sometimes, not always, but in some cases of chronic hepatitis or in some cases of severe acute hepatitis, उन लोगों के अंदर small protein inclusions will be seen inside your hepatocytes and in your liver. Those protein inclusions are called Mallory bodies. Okay, so Mallory bodies, whenever a patient has Mallory body being seen in the liver, you can surmise that they definitely have some sort of severe liver damage. It is also seen in Indian childhood cirrhosis. So Mallory bodies are seen. Then there is deposition of copper, okay, and copper associated proteins. You will see deposition of copper and copper associated proteins. Copper associated proteins like your alpha 2 globulin जो ceruloplasmin बोले वैसा, yeah, they can be other proteins as well. ठीक है, they will start getting accumulated in your liver. These are the characteristic features of your Indian childhood cirrhosis. Okay, I'll repeat once again just in case you did not understand. Indian childhood cirrhosis is a special condition, unusual condition, which occurs in children aged between 6 months to 3 years. Okay, though there is no cause of viral infection, it can occur due to either toxic effects of copper, ingestion of copper, or it can be due to an inherited abnormality in copper metabolism, wherein the patient is not metabolizing copper properly. Okay, either or both of them can occur. Okay, the changes that occur in your liver is that ballooning degeneration will occur, wherein inflammatory cells will start getting accumulated in your hepatocytes. They will start invading into your hepatocytes, and your hepatocyte will literally balloon out and it will start getting damaged. And you will see small Mallory bodies being formed in your hepatocytes. It can occur around your hepatocytes as well sometimes. And you will start seeing deposition of copper and copper associated proteins like ceruloplasmin and other proteins. So that is about Indian childhood cirrhosis. Okay, with that we've completed cirrhosis. You want me to repeat anything or? Okay.